Thank you, guys. My name is Nick Hodak with EMC Hospitality. If you can't hear me, put something in the chat to Ben. Ben will be answering questions, so you can always put a message in there. Anything as we're going through, I'm going to talk about a bunch of different pieces, and you can ask the questions. He'll bring them up to me. This is Chef Christian. So Christian's going to be cooking. We're going to have several different pieces coming out. We have a holding cabinet. We have a cook and hold, a combi oven, and then we have our multi-cook ovens over here. We have a blast chiller going as well. So it'll probably be about 60 minutes. We're going to cook and plate up some food. And yeah, anything that comes to mind, questions, feel free to ask. So I'm going to start out with a little bit of history on Alto Shaam. Alto Shaam was started in the 60s by a gentleman named Jerry Moss. Jerry had a franchise called Chicken Delight, and he was based out of Wisconsin. He was trying to deliver chickens. In the cold Wisconsin winters, they weren't holding temp, and so he would get the products to the customer he was delivering to, and it'd be cold. So he was trying to find a way to stop this problem. He had a stainless steel box, and he tried everything from chafing fuels. He was delivering them in a Volkswagen Beetle. He lost a couple of Beetles; they caught fire. So he said, I got to find another way. He went to a Packers game. He's a big Packers fan. Noticed that there was snow all around the field. This was in the middle of winter, so snow all around the field. But on the field itself, you could see the grass. And he asked the person he was with, he said, how come there's no snow on the field itself? And he said, well, there's low density thermal cabling that runs underneath. So gentle radiant heat, it melts the snow so the players can still play. They don't have any of the snow in the way. And he has this idea moment. So he says, what if I took that, wrapped the cabling around my stainless steel box that I have, and it will maintain the product integrity. It will gently radiate heat without drying it out. He tried it. He built one in his garage, threw it into the car, and he was delivering chicken, no problem. So he found that he could kind of tweak, play around with this a little bit, started to add vents. So if you're doing items like fried chicken, it's not going to give your chicken a soggy texture. It's going to let that moisture escape out a little bit while still maintaining internal moisture of the product. And because we're not using a heating element like a cowl rod and forcing air through the cavity, we're not drying it out. And so this gives us longer holding times. The product has more moisture, keeps it nice and juicy. And this is just an amazing way to hold. And so that's what kind of started Alto Shaam. Fun fact, Alto Shaam, Al and Tom were the first two employees that worked with him, or partners. So you have Al and Tom, and then Shaam is Moz spelled backwards. So Jerry Moz, the founder, he flipped that around. So that's where the name comes from. Chef, what do we got here?
A roasted chicken done in our combi. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in our holding cabinet, and hopefully, well, it will hold its temperature. I'll pull it out at the end, and you see right now it's at 183.
183, all right.
And
you got some blackening spices on there?
Yes, lemon, garlic,
okay,
pepper.
Excellent, cool. So we're going to put that into the holding cabinet. We'll come back to it later, probably hold for the duration of the presentation, then we'll cut it up and plate it so you can see, and it will hold temperature very well. So right now he's got that set at 175. We've got some dampers in there. Gonna leave those a little open just so it's not going to get too soggy and have all those nice spices fall off. So on our holding cabinet, if you can swivel that way, Ben. This is one of our smaller sizes. We do go all the way up to a full-size cabinet, double doors, and we can hold sheet pans in the larger units. This particular one will hold hotel pans. All our literature will break it down on pounds of food as well as pans. So if it can do 12 by 20s, it'll say 3 12 by 20 pans, 5 12 by 20 pans, or it will do full-size sheet pans. and you can usually hold double the capacity of the sheet pans in hotel pans. So if it says 10 sheet pans, usually 20 hotel pans. Our combi ovens are going to work the same way as well. And this is a nice, easy, classic controller. We do have some different controllers that we'll show you throughout the presentation. But these units, they hold up, they last. We have a lifetime warranty on our heater cables. It's not uncommon to go into a location and see a unit that's 30, 40 years old. So that's the holding cabinet. Very easy. Got the magnetic latch. Slam shut. So now we're gonna move on. We're not smoking anything today, but just so you can see, this is a little bit larger cavity. This is our smoker. So it does fit full-size sheet pans in this particular size. And that has a simple controller on it, but it's not turned on right now. You can just walk through and you can cook off of a probe, you can cook off of time. We can set smoking based off of a little smoker box. You put wood chips in there that are soaked, and there's a heating element that will heat up and release the water vapor, so you get a nice smoke. This is really going to, it's going to need to go under a hood if you're doing smoking. But this is a nice piece. You can cook and hold in here. So as opposed to just a holding cabinet, a company called Arby's really liked the holding cabinet idea, but they wanted to know how they could cook and hold. And so that's what created the cook and hold. It's going to be a higher temperature, where our holding cabinet goes to 200, cook and hold will go to 325. So now we can set up some different parameters. We can cook off of a probe to a certain temperature. Maybe we say cook to 80 degrees, cook to 100 degrees. So that's the internal temperature. And then what's going to happen is the cavity is going to be a much hotter temperature. So it's going to kind of carry over cook and bring that product up the rest of the way. And then you can set a holding temperature and just have it hold. So like with our holding cabinet over here, sorry, cook and hold cabinet over here, Chef was doing a tri-tip. And Chef, you said you threw that in yesterday afternoon?
Correct.
So that's been going about 3 o'clock. So we've got a tri-tip. We cooked it off the probe, and this has been cooking since 3 o'clock yesterday. So we're about a 20+ hour cook. Cool. So on this controller, I'll show you in a minute. We have a deluxe control. And so we have several different controllers I mentioned. One of the nice things about the deluxe control is you are able to monitor through Wi-Fi. We can push recipes through Wi-Fi. We can record HACCP. We can see error codes. We can basically log in, and if you have multiple units throughout your property, you can give them all different names. You could have banquet kitchen, cook and hold. You can have main kitchen. You can push all the recipes without having to do the old school way of USB from one machine to the next. So that's a really neat feature. There's no cost to the Chef Link. It's what we call it. So it's not like a monthly subscription that you have to pay for. If we can go over and just kind of show that controller real quick. Sorry. We need a zooming camera. So what Alto Shaam has done is we've also moved this controller onto our combis as well. So the idea is that we have continuity across the product line. So in the Deluxe, you can see we have favorites, we have EMC Test Kitchen. If we go to these, we can actually give pictures, we can give descriptions, we can set up all different kinds of recipes, and we can also have them push from ShefLink. So we have recipes that our chefs at Alto Shaam have developed, and those will be in a recipe bank. So you can go in there and choose what you want and just have it send over Wi-Fi. And all it does, it connects up just like your phone would to Wi-Fi. You find the name of the network, you put in the password, and now this is on the Wi-Fi. It can also receive updates. So if there's an update from the manufacturer, it will push that update automatically. It can also have some metrics that these service agents can see from our service team back in Wisconsin. So they can also see things that are happening. Your facilities people can see this. It's just a link. So you can see it on your phone, you can see it on a tablet, you can see it on a computer. Just go to the browser link and it'll pop up. So we're all good. Thank you guys. All right. So Chef, did you want to cut into that? What we're going to do is we're going to take some of this and we're going to throw it into the blast chiller. It's going to chill down, and then we're going to slice it up and make some sandwiches out of that as well. So 20-hour cook, nice and even all the way across. You don't get the well done where you get a bullseye. You get well done on the outside and raw in the center. This is nice and consistent all the way across. Yeah. Christian? Chef?
Yes.
So how would you see that as beneficial from an operator standpoint in terms of shrinkage or yield?
Question. So the beauty about the cook and hold is that you will yield on your product about 70 to 80%, I want to say. For a 20-hour cook, this is all that came off that you can see.
So very little loss. You're going to clip that a little higher. Very little loss. So you're not throwing out product. You're not burning through it. You're not getting bits that get tossed or something sent back to the kitchen. Everybody's happy. Everybody wins.
So what I'm going to do from here is going to put in a blast chiller, and then we're going to take it out later, and then make a roast, tri-tip sandwich.
Great. Cool. Probe that guy. Alrighty. In the meantime, I'm going to talk about the combi for a minute. So the combi oven is like the Swiss Army knife of the kitchen. Combi can do everything from hold, it can proof, it can bake, it can roast, it can steam. You can do a combination of things. So you could have a setting where it's going to smoke a product, so cold smoke, or we could smoke with heat. When we smoke, then we can have it roll into a cook cycle. It can cook off of a probe up to temperature, and then from there we can have it go into a hold mode. So chef could set all of these recipes up, and somebody who does not have a culinary background, such as myself, can then come in, probe the food, put it into the oven, hit go, and it'll come out consistent every time. So that is huge. It's going to be much more consistent than a traditional cooking style, like saying into a conventional oven or even a convection oven. Much less product loss. And the fact that you can cook off of the probe, it's going to be the same every time. So you don't have to worry about employees coming up with their own gold standard and cooking things over or under. So with the combi oven, combi is going to cook with steam. You can do full steam, so it's going to be replicating a steamer. You can do no steam and have just all convection, basically. It is going to rotate the fan, so you are going to get nice, even, consistent cooks. A lot of times, if you're cooking on a convection oven, you know that you have to kind of do the dance where you're turning the pans around. You're going to move this one down to the bottom. You're going to take one, move it up to the top, because you have those different hot spots that you're trying to avoid. With a combi oven, it's going to be very consistent. You can even do sous vide in here because we can do so many different things with steam. We can low temp steam all the way down to 85 degrees. So you can do your poaching, you can replicate a sous vide cooker, but we have a probe. So one of the big downfalls of sous vide is there's not really any way to track temperature-wise. With a combi oven, you can. And so if you ever have any health inspector that's questioning this, you can have your control bag that has the probe in it. And everything, as long as it's the same size, the combi will all cook to the same temperature of that probed item. So, chef, you're doing a couple different things in the combi oven. You did rotisserie chicken earlier.
Yes.
And then you're doing some asparagus right now. So we're going to get really nice color out of this because of the way this is going to be steaming. We're going to be getting. It's going to be very vibrant. You can even steam at a lower temperature, It's going to maintain all of the vitamins and minerals. It's not going to be squished, so you can actually have it steam at 175 degrees, and you'll still have a really nice crunch. It'll be cooked through, but just more enjoyable, more appetizing. We can also smoke in there, like I mentioned. Again, just like the smoker, we're gonna have a smoker box. It's an option that you order early on. So when you're ordering the unit is when you would put the smoker option. It can't be added in later because it is a heating element that goes at the back of this cavity. But very inexpensive, and then it adds another piece. So combis are very popular in Europe, mainly because they don't have the space in the kitchens. They have to figure out a way to cook for a whole house full of people, and they are working out of a broom closet. So they might have a char broiler, if they're lucky, and a combi oven. That looks beautiful, chef. You can hand it to Ben. So a combi oven and maybe a broiler to finish. You can proof your rolls in there, then you can have it switch over to bake. You can do the cooking and holding like I was talking about. The combi can pretty much replicate any piece that we have in here. We just are doing the demonstrations for each individual one, maybe in the event that you already have a combi. But some of these other pieces, like a cook and hold, doesn't really take up a whole lot of space. But that might be a nice piece to add for some banquet cooking or something like that. It also self-cleans. So our combi oven will use tablets as a cleaner. So it'll have different levels of cleaning. You can do just a rinse, maybe 10 minutes or so. If you're doing a little bit of a heavier cook with more smoke and grease, we would want to push that to a longer clean. And then because we're using the smoke option, you can have it go to, say, a 2-hour clean. Hit that button at the end of the day and it will clean. Because unlike our smoker, that's always going to be a smoker. You can't get everything out. But with the combi oven, because it's using the steam, the hot water, it really helps to loosen everything up. You don't need to scrub or anything like that. I'm sure you've probably used combis before. But it's just a very easy way to clean that unit. And with labor being what it is, we're trying to save wherever we can. Do you have something, Chef?
No.
Okay, I wasn't sure. You were looking at me, so. Anyways, so we do have a bunch of different options. We have air frying baskets that you can replicate like a air fry, so a healthier fry. We have different items that have more of like a griddle-like surface. We have the spikes for doing like a rotisserie style chicken. So tons of different options for the combi oven. And this particular oven is a full-size sheet pan unit. We do make them in half size. So if you don't have the space for the full size oven, we can cut that down. That will fit 12 by 20 hotel pans or half size sheet pans, where our full size combi will fit the 18 by 26 sheet pans, or you can do double the capacity in half size sheet pans or hotels. I think I've pretty much touched on everything for a combi. Well, we do have a couple things that make ours different. One really nice feature is we have cool touch. So on the side of our combi, normally you're going to need 12 to 18 inches, and that's going to be because if you were to put something hot next to it, like a fryer, 6-burner range, something that's generating heat, it's going to heat up all the components, and they'll overheat, and the combi will start to have issues. So with ours, we can actually go zero clearance right up against the side. So that's huge, especially when you're talking about hood space, because the hood itself is not very expensive. It's the HVAC and all of that that is where you really start to come into an expensive proposition. So if you can save space, if you can add another 2 burners onto your line, something like that, that's going to be big. We also have safe vent as an option. So at the end of a cook cycle, you can turn on safe vent. It will evacuate steam before you open the door. So right at the end, it opens up a damper, pulls all the steam out. That way, when you open the door, you don't get a bunch of steam coming out. I'm not sure if you've had that with the combi oven before, but it's a lot of steam that can come out, especially if you're in a steam-only mode. So that's a really nice feature, and it saves a little time. We do also have the lighted door handle, which you probably see. Maybe you could do just a little swivel. So right here on the door handle, at the end of a cook cycle, that's going to flash in addition to the beeping. So you have a high visibility. The LED lights are going to go. And then this unit doesn't have our Prodigy controller, but we'll also have that deluxe control that has the chef link and that sort of thing for our next cooking session. This one's going to be retiring. We could do grease collection. So if you're cooking heavy grease, you can actually have all of that siphoned off and have it go to a grease collection jug. So if you have a location that's doing just rotisserie chicken, that's a lot of grease. You don't want that going down the drain. So this is actually going to run it all to a grease collection jug. And then as those fill up, you can just shut off the jug, has a quick disconnect. You can pull it and move that to your reclamation area.
Question from the chat is,
yes.
Can you stack a existing restaurant?
I'm going to say no. We can check, but it's something that it might get a little tough with the fact that usually they have certain points that you can mount a combi to as far as where the weight loading is. And so if ours is different than where a rationale is expecting to put weight, that could cause some problems. And I don't want the unit to crush your existing rationale. But I'll definitely check on that. We'll make a note and get back to you. You can stack our combis on top of each other, of course. And one thing that I'd like to get to, I'm going to jump ahead just for a minute, but we do make a multi-cook oven. So multi-cook is going to have multiple decks, and each deck can be set at a different temperature, and we can also control the air. So we're going to be generating air through a structured air. It's going to have a jet plate with a series of dots and dashes. And that's going to be somewhat similar to like an impingement technology, like a conveyor pizza oven or even a speed cook oven, but without the microwave. And what this is going to allow us to do is this will give us the flexibility. It's great for small spaces. If you have like a room service area, you can have it all set up with pre-programmed items. You can just hit a button, throw it in, and go. So you can be doing, say, cookies at one temperature, maybe 350. The next deck up can be 425. The next deck up can be 500 plus. So we do make a full-size unit of that, and that can be stacked underneath the combi. So that's going to not only give you the high volume of our combi, but have the flexibility of our multi-cook ovens. So just wanted to throw that in there before we left the combi, so we're not jumping back and forth. We do offer an install program on our combis, so that's done by a certified install technician. We do have the install kits. So if you decide to go with a combi from Alto Shaam, you can have all those ordered. Everything shows up and you're ready to go for when the tech gets there. They can do the site survey, make sure that the space is ready to go. And then you have all your gas hoses, your drain, your water lines, etc. All right, so if that is it, no more questions, we're gonna jump on to convert. All right. So
out of the combi, I pulled out asparagus.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Steamed asparagus.
So you can see the color on here, really nice. It's got a nice bite or a snap to it. You don't need to do any blanching like you normally would to get that really nice color off of the product, and it maintains all of its vitamins. And so we're going to use that in the next plate. So now we're jumping on to our, this is our Converge multi-cook oven. Give them a chance to move the camera over. So Alto Shaam, we came out with a Vector oven. And so Vector has a catalytic converter. It is ventless. So that's this unit that you see over here. We can make these in 2, 3, or 4 decks. And they're going to hold, we make units for a half-size sheet pan. We also make for a 12 by 20 hotel pan, which is just 2 inches deeper. And then we can make them a little bit wider. So this will accommodate about a 14-inch pizza pan. We do make one that will hold a 16-inch pizza screen or pan. So if you have a bar, something like that in your property where you don't have the space for a hood, but you think, man, this would be great if we could put some food down here in the venue, generate a few more dollars off of this area. So with this, you can pop this in. It uses 208 single phase. It's about 30 amps, so it's not bad. This can have multiple deck temperatures, or you could set them all to the same, but they can be cooking different items. And this is our simple controller. I was talking about how we had some different controllers. So you can still go in, have recipes set up, or you can just cook manual. So if you wanted to say this deck is always going to be at 350, this one's going to be at 500, I can maybe do some pizzas up top. We can roast some proteins. Down below, maybe we want to bake some items, some sweets and desserts. And this has that catalytic converter. So this is ventless. You can take this, it's fully approved for roasting, say, chicken. You can do chicken wings, you can do salmon, you can do all different kinds of items out of here. It's going to be about twice as quick as a convection oven. Where it's set apart, we're not going after a speed cook oven like a Turbo Chef, because those will, in most cases, use microwave. And microwave, in very small quantities, may be helpful for like a sandwich or something like that. But if you're trying to cook like a protein, it could start to break down the integrity of the product. Everybody's microwaved and overcooked something before. You know how that is. You don't want to be putting that product out. So what we figured is if we can just have a few more minutes and bypass the microwave, we'll get so much better product out of here. And so that's what we did. And we're not going after those speed cook ovens, but this will literally cut your cook times in half. So say a flatbread takes 6.5 minutes, you're going to be cooking it in about 3 and change. So still very quick, especially for like a bar atmosphere. We can do the deluxe controller on this unit as well. So we can have the chef link. We can push the recipes. We can see HACCP. You can even see in real time on a Chef Link enabled control, which we have on our Converge. I'll show you in a minute. I've seen demos where, being here in California, we could see what was going on in Texas at a multi-unit operator called Twin Peaks. So they were cooking some different items, and we could see down to the deck. The top deck was cooking bacon. It still had 2 minutes to go on it. It was cooking at 525 degrees. So very finite information. And you could see how many times somebody bypassed cleaning cycles. You could see if there were any error codes that came on. These units do have a fan at the back because it does pull air through and cools off the control components. It will put a little high limit light on here if somebody doesn't pull those off and clean them every couple days to a week. And so if that lights up, it'll actually pop a little error code into the Chef Link. And of course they can bypass it, but you can always come back and say, hey, when was this cleaned last? You know, oh, we clean it every day. And then it turns out that it's been bypassed for 30 days or 60 days. So you can kind of correct your staff before anything happens and the components fail. So that's a really neat piece. We're going to be doing the sandwiches out of here, as well as some cookies, I believe, a little bit later.
Correct.
So that was groundbreaking technology. They did it again by adding moisture to the cabinet. So not only can we control different temperatures, but we can also control moisture in there. We can cook off of probes. So this is essentially replicating a combi oven. Question? Oh, sorry, I'm not in the frame. All right, so what Chef's doing is he's going through, he's choosing the different items, and only the items that are available to cook at that temperature will pop up. So you can't try to roast something on a cavity that's set up for baking. It won't pop up, and vice versa. So the temperature will go up 50 degrees and down 50 degrees. So you can have this set at 400. It'll go up to 450. It'll go down to 350. So you can have that kind of flex down for baking. It can go up for doing maybe like a flatbread or something like that. And then you can set these all up independently. We have gasketing that goes around the full face of the door on this. We have a welded divider in between. So the vector, we can actually pull out decks. If we needed to go larger for maybe like a large chicken or something like that, we can pull out the decks and we can join 2 decks together because there's nothing dividing. We don't have to worry about moisture. On our Converge, we don't want moisture to drip from a all steam cavity down to a convection, so we actually weld in a plate and we cannot join them together. But we can have that flexibility of having this one do maybe combi. You can be combi cooking bacon at one temperature. You can be roasting down here or doing pastry items completely dry. So this gives you a lot of flexibility, and all you'll have coming off of it is moisture. It has a catalyst, so it takes care of the grease, but you'll still need to deal with that smoke and grease if your local jurisdictions. I know some states will not have problems with it. I believe California would want you to still get rid of the moisture. So this is cooking right now. We even have a progress bar that's going across. This will work its way all the way across, and then that will start to flash the lights just for that deck. So it's nice. You can be all the way across the other side of the kitchen, hear a beeping, and see just one deck going off, and you know, okay, my product down in the bottom needs to come out. We can put pictures on this controller. We can put steps. Like if you're doing a quesadilla, for example, halfway through the cook, you can tell it, okay, flip over, and it will actually flash a step of whatever you tell it to do. Flip over the sandwich, flip over the quesadilla. So you're getting excellent product out of here, but it's going to be very consistent. Anybody can operate it. Chef can go home. You can have somebody operating it for room service, and chef can program in all the different items and categorize them. You can have a room service menu. You can have a breakfast menu with pictures of eggs or quesadillas or things like that. So very nice. And because we have moisture, we can throw in tablets, and we can have a cleaning mode too. So we can hit that, it can automatically clean. Our vector, we don't have the moisture, so we have a cleaner. You spray it onto a towel, just wipe the inside, and then you wipe that out with a damp towel, and it's all good to go. We don't want to have any harsh cleaners in there, so it is a specific cleaner because that catalytic converter has some precious metals and alloys and things, and we don't want to cause any harm to those. One thing that I forgot to mention is I've been talking about cooking with a probe. All of our units use the same probe. So let me grab one over here real quick. So we have a couple different probe options, but they all have a connector, and you have the other end, which is the probe. Chef, you want to throw those in real quick?
I'm going to go in the vector.
All right. So Chef is throwing some cookies in the bottom of the vector. We do not have any cross-contamination. So each cavity will have its own motor, and it's going to be blowing air from the top and bottom. We can choose the air speed that it moves at, and we can do multiple stages as well. So if you wanted a setting to start out, so this is going for 12 minutes, 325, 40% air, and then for the last minute, it's going to kick up to 100% air, giving kind of a nice toast on there. You could do that for a pizza. If you had a bunch of toppings, you didn't want them to blow off, you could maybe have a minute or two where it's gentle, the cheese lets everything set, and then you can kick up the air. So we're going to come back to that, but no flavor transfer because it's constantly drawing the air to the back of the cavity. And what's nice about having those independent heaters and motors is if, say, for whatever reason, one goes down, you have redundancy. So all the other decks will still continue to work. So that's cooking right now. We've got a countdown going. And then when we go to throw something else in, we can jump up to this cavity, hit a recipe, and that will go with our sandwiches that we're looking to do. So I was talking about the probe. What's really nice is a lot of our competition will have a hardwired probe, which means this is all you're going to see coming out of the side of the cavity. You're not going to have a plug. And if somebody were to mess up, they leave this in the food, maybe they turn a corner too quick, it shears off that cable, then you're cooking basically back at old school cooking methods. You're doing it off of time, temp, and you're guessing. So you're not going to have the same consistency. Where with ours, you pop this plug out, you can keep an extra one of these probes, or maybe you have something like a blast chiller and you're not using the blast chiller at the moment. You pop this probe out, plug it into whichever piece you're cooking in that you need the probe, and you're back and running again. So these are really nice. They're not very expensive. You can always keep a couple in the chef's desk, and if anything happens, you're back and going. So chef right now is making up some sandwiches, and then we jumped too quick, but we do have some bruschetta. So nice bread there. Chef threw in. We toasted on combi mode.
In the combi, correct.
So when you cook in a combi oven, you have steam up to 212, and then you'll usually have a super steam setting that's about 250. It cooks better for frozen products and things like that, really hard shelled. We are boilerless combi, so that's really nice because the boiler is probably the first thing to fail in a combi oven. You just get your hard water in there. Most places in the States have hard water, at least on the West Coast that I've come across. And so that will cause the boiler to crack. It fails, and then you're out of commission. So with ours, we're running water into our heat exchanger. It's going to drip onto a superheated fan and flash steam. But what ours is going to do is we're going to generate that steam. Oh, chef's slicing up some.
Sorry, I moved too quick. So I pulled the meat that I cooked from the cook and hold, chilled it for a little bit, probably about maybe 30 minutes now. So I could get a nice slice on the slicer, and it's a lot easier when the meat's chilled rather than warm and blood going everywhere, etc.
And obviously, blast chiller is going to be optimal for maintaining food integrity, getting better shelf lives. This one is a chiller and freezer. This is our smallest size, so this is 3-pan. We do up to roll-in units, so you can actually have a full-size roll-in combi that you can roll from the refrigerator into the combi. You can cook it. You can roll into a holding cabinet, full size, and then you can roll into the chiller. So it goes all the way from your prep stage all the way to saving the product or reuse. Okay, yeah. So chef's throwing that in. The program tab on it, right? You can categorize these as well. Give them all different names. You could go off of. You can go off of a manual setting also. So you can just, as long as it's on the temperature that you're looking for, you can say 400. You can hit your temperature, your time, and go. If I could jump back while he's doing that, if I can jump back to the combi oven, so what I was getting at with this is once you go above 212,